Back about 8 years ago, there were 10,000 receivers in this country. Today, there are 24.5 million. TV has been shot at, applauded, argued about, analyzed by everyone from Haile Selassie to Sir Winston Churchill.
It's now television, which some say is going to conquer the broadcast and the radio. At any rate, it's going to be a very pushing younger brother in the near future. There's this television, and people, I'm told, where it is really taking hold, whole families spend their whole evenings listening and watching together. That, no doubt, is a very good thing.
It was a very good thing indeed in March of 1951 when people stayed home from work to watch the Kefauver crime hearings. That's Virginia Hill. She was known as the sweetheart of the underworld. Here's the scene.
Did you ever get any money from any other person whom we might call a gangster other than Siegel?
No.
Did you ever get any money from Meyer Lansky?
I never got money from any of us. None of these that I've been reading about, and none that I knew, they never gave me anything.
None of the Fichettis?
No. I don't even speak to them. I mean, I met that Charlie once or twice. I don't even talk to him.
You don't like him?
No.
While you were in Sun Valley, you made a number of calls to Mexico. Do you have any particular business in Mexico?
Just fellas I know.
Do you still bet the horse race?
That's the only thing now? I don't bet anything. Now I'm afraid I'll win, and then they'll say I made more money than I did.
You mean you just don't want to win anymore?
I don't want any more.
Well, that's a good reformation, all right.
Toby, Kefauver, Halley, and O'Connor, Inc., and mobster Frank Costello, who came to judgment with laryngitis and a poor memory.
In what business enterprises are you now engaged? I think you've already mentioned the Beverly Club, and we've gone into that somewhat completely.
At present, I'm engaged in that Jet's broiler.
You have just the Beverly Club and the Jet broiler?
At present, yes, sir.
And I think you mentioned that the Beverly Club takes, in effect, practically none of your time. Is that right?
Yes.
All you do is talk about it to your friends, and if you see a good act somewhere at a nightclub, you recommend it to the Beverly Club. Is that
yes,
right?
I believe I explained that before.
And it's my recollection that the broiler company also takes none of your time. Is that right?
Well, it's in its infancy. We just started.
Well, you left the whole thing to Mr. Wolf, isn't that right?
Practically right now, yes.
I mean, without going into the detail, unless you feel it necessary, you didn't really even know what kind of a broiler it was.
Yes, I've seen the broiler, and I think it's the finest broiler made.
Now, how much of your time have you devoted to any legitimate enterprises in the last 2 years?
Well, I told you what I did for the Beverly. And I've been up in Mr. Wolf's office, inquiring, making suggestions about a building.
Do you know James Moran?
Yes.
How well do you know James Moran?
Will you just get a little close to the microphone, keep your voices up here?
Well, I know him well enough for him to come to my home and have a drink or something.
When did you first meet James Moran?
I couldn't really remember when I first met him.
The thing that I believe in, that the truth will always bear the test. And no man, whether it's Frank Costello or Charles Toby or Mr. Wolfe, need fear God, man, or the devil, as long as he only enunciates the truth. And we're here to get at the facts. And so, as I did the examination, and these facts were brought out, I asked to have them confirmed, and I said, if these are the facts, it's evident to me and manifest to me that the man is in this country illegally, and he committed a crime in falsifying the records, that is all.
Senator Charles Tobey was one of many whose obituaries were written during these 8 years from 45 to 53. Henry Ford, James Forrestal, Babe Ruth, William Randolph Hearst, Robert A. Taft, the senator from Ohio, distinguished record of public service, who sought the nation's greatest prize. There were literary obituaries: Theodore Dreiser, Sinclair Lewis, playwright Philip Berry, yes, George Bernard Shaw.
Let me give a word of advice to the parents. If your son or your daughter, if they inform you, the son, that he wants to be a great artist, a great musician, I was going to say a great politician, but there may be something in that. He may try that if he likes. But if he wants to be a great artist and so on, do your utmost to prevent him. Don't let him. If you tell him that his business in life, if he wants to be prosperous and well spoken of and all that, let him be a shopkeeper or a stockbroker. And if your daughter tells you that she wants to be a very great actress and thinks that she's the only person in the world who can play my St. Joan, try to prevent her. Tell her to marry the shopkeeper or the stockbroker. That is the way for them to be prosperous and happy, and instead of being great people, to have the great fun of celebrating great people, admiring them, reading their books and looking at their pictures and listening to their music and all that. Not writing it all and composing it, which is jolly hard work, and more kicks than halfpence in the pursuit of it. The one thing I never wanted to be was to be a writer. And the reason was that I was a born writer. The thing was as natural to me as the taste of water in my mouth. It has no taste because it's always there. At least it's always in my mouth because I'm a teetotaler. However, don't imagine that being a teetotaler will make you great. It won't. I've known some people, and they have become great people, and very distinguished great people too, and their principal diet was whiskey and big cigars.
And Shaw was a man of distinction with a glass of carrot juice in his hand. We're gazing on a knight of the Order of the Garter who never found himself in that predicament. Winston Churchill spent these 8 years pursuing the habit of a lifetime in Britain, running for office.
Let us march forward. Let us march forward with our sturdy lions, jaunty lions, unconquerable lions.
In 1950, the Conservatives were defeated in the first post-war general election. And through these 8 years, Britain's electorate was split down the middle. Though nothing so frantic as this, I believe. They're singing "He's a Jolly Good Fellow" for Sir Winston Churchill. In October of 1951, Churchill led his party in victory over the Laborites. The Laborites were led by Clement Attlee, who was also serenaded as a jolly good fellow. Extremists in the socialist ranks, led by an Iron Bevan, professed to see no peril for the West in the aggressive policies of the Soviet Union. And in his term of office, Attlee was plagued by defections within his own party. Labor's leftists didn't always join the cheering.
Hey! Hey!
It is March 10th, 1947. The big four foreign ministers are gathered in Moscow to draw up peace treaties for Italy and Germany. That's Britain's Ernest Bevin. He is not optimistic as he arrives. For 2 years, Stalin and his cohorts have evaded or broken most agreements with the West. The phrase Cold War is common coin of the tongue. Moscow Airport, U.S. Secretary of State George Marshall arrives. The West knows little of what goes on in the Soviet Union. No camera in Russia looks beyond the facade that is Red Square. Western statesmen sound their warnings.
An iron curtain has descended across the continent. Behind that line lie all the capitals of the ancient states of Central and Eastern Europe. Warsaw, Berlin, Prague, Vienna, Budapest, Belgrade, Bucharest, and Sofia.
System. In Prague, Foreign Minister Jan Masaryk tries to believe that the democracy of his father will live on by compromise with the East. By 1948, Masaryk's optimism has turned to pessimism.
But I am convinced that common sense and liberty will triumph in the end, even if it takes a long time. I must say goodbye and God bless you. Don't forget, please, that in the very heart of Europe, there is a country, small, not without worries, but definitely resolved to remain true to the American principles of democracy.